I call to order the June 2019 legislative meeting of the Borough Council. Please stand and join me in the salute to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have quite a few persons here tonight, and it is for a special occasion. Mr. Mayor, would you please lead the proceeding?
Sure. Paul, join me, please.
First, press the button.
Press the button.
Should be on. Should be green.
We practiced. In my past 38 years of doing this sort of thing, proclamations, etc., it's the first time that we had 3 for one organization. Well deserved. And I'm going to read the proclamation first, and then Paul Robinson, who's our fire liaison, is going to call up those that are going to receive it. So I'll begin reading. It says, Media Fire and Hook and Ladder Company number 1 citation. Whereas on the evening of Friday, May 31, 2019, a life-threatening fire occurred in the Colonial Terrace Apartments. And whereas Media Fire and Hook Ladder Company number 1 responded to the fire with neighboring mutual fire aid and EMS departments. And whereas the initial attack crew of Deputy Chief Christopher Ciccarelli and Lieutenant Matthew Hatton displayed great courage by placing their lives at risk to save the life of a trapped fire victim. And whereas the courage, skill, and determination of their efforts resulted in the successful rescue of the trapped fire victim. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Council of the Borough Media hereby recognizes their efforts by the award of this certificate of valor. So, thank you very much, and Paul.
I would ask if the lieutenant and the deputy chief and the chief would please come up to receive their citation.
We're going to give it to you one by one. And then you each have a 25-minute speech.
Congratulations.
Chief, you want to speak?
Chief, thank you. You're the big chief, so you get to say everything.
So on May 31st, the fire company was dispatched for a fire alarm at Colonial Terrace Apartments. We had just gotten done hanging out, and we were all within a block of the firehouse. So everybody turned around, gets on the fire truck, and we start heading down to the call. En route to the call, the dispatch center advises that the alarm company had called them back. They were starting to receive multiple signals from the apartment building, and they had a phone call that reported smoke coming from one of the apartments. I got on location. There's soot stains around the door, smoke coming from around the door. Beat on the door a little bit, don't get a response. The engine shows up. The guys force the door open, stretch the attack line, hose line inside to fight the fire. After they forced entry, the deputy chief thought he heard somebody call for help, so he called back to see if he'd get a response. He got a response. Lieutenant Hatton controlled the fire. Deputy Chief Zuccarelli broke off from the attack line and kept yelling out to the victim, and was able to locate him in a closet buried under some clothes in the bedroom. He assisted him out of the apartment and turned him over to EMS, and the EMS crew transported him to Crozier. He was admitted to the burn center for 4 days, and then he was discharged from the burn center. And as we don't know his disposition yet, but he did recover fully. So the guys did a great job. We have a very highly motivated group of individuals, and it's my pleasure to be the guy who gets to see them work. So, congratulations.
All right, folks, welcome back. We took a brief break. We just honored 3 members of the fire company for bravery in action. It truly is the case that they rush in while others run out. Let's continue on with the regular order of our agenda. We'll begin this portion by approving the meeting minutes. So do I hear a motion to approve the May 2, 2019 workshop meeting minutes as submitted?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing no call for discussion, all those in favor of approving the May 2, 2019 workshop meeting minutes as submitted, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. That motion passes unanimously. Our second set of meeting minutes from last month were from our regular legislative meeting from May 16, 2019. Do I hear a motion to approve those meeting minutes as submitted?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the May 16, 2019 council meeting minutes as submitted, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes unanimously. All right, now's the time for you to talk to us. So if there's anybody here who wishes to come to the microphone, which looks like it needs to be put back in its regular place, please come forward, tell us your name, where you live, and what's on your mind. Thank you, Mr. Scott. Going once? Okay. No, we have a taker.
My name's Debbie Gass, and I live at 733 North Howell Street. And I did not get a letter about the sidewalks that you're planning to put in up on 8th Street. I'm very unhappy about it. Our neighbors are unhappy about it, and I'm here to talk about it. I do not want it. I will post no trespassing signs on my property. Do not put sidewalks in on my property on 8th Street. You can have your grant, take your grant money, and use it for somebody that really needs it. Use it to fix the bricks on State Street, which are loose, and I fell on and had to go to the hospital for it. And I'm not happy about that, so use your grant money for that. But your grant money, you're going to put the sidewalk in. Then who's responsible for it when the money runs out? I'm going to be. We're senior citizens. I've lived here all my life. I am not going to pay for the snow removal, and you're taking away from my property. That's unacceptable to me. It's just not right. I don't know what right you have to come in and just get grant money and build on people's land. So I'm just telling you that much. And there's other places you can put it on. You can put it on West Street. You can put it up by the youth center. You can put it, on Providence Road. The people don't walk on the sidewalks up in my neighborhood. They walk in the street. And the police don't do anything about it. Somebody will get killed if they haven't already, because they don't wear any reflectors on their clothes when they're out there walking their dogs and just walking or running. It's unacceptable to me. So if you're not going to enforce the jaywalking in media, do not put sidewalks on my property. That's what I have to say about that. So who do I talk to? Do I talk to you, or am I talking to the wrong people?
Deb?
What? Okay, do
Please,
you
Deb.
understand?
Yes, and just for some clarification, if I'm not mistaken, where we are going to be putting sidewalks, if we decide to put sidewalks in, it would not be on your side of the street. The sidewalks would come down in front of the newer properties, and then due to several reasons, we'd be going to the north side of the street. So one, the sidewalks would not be on your property. And also, I think it's important, just for clarification, is we would never come and take somebody's property away to place a sidewalk. Where the sidewalks would be placed is within the right-of-way of the borough. So it's not actually land owned by you, it's land that is part of the right-of-way for the borough. But in your circumstance, right now that we're looking at where the new homes are being built would be a sidewalk, then it would come across on the north side and then follow its
What do those people, what do my neighbors do on the other side then?
Pardon me?
What do the neighbors do on the other side to come up and protest? Because we're talking about cutting down trees and everything to get sidewalks in. I don't know if you ever, I really went up there and looked.
We did.
Okay, well, don't put the sidewalks on my 8th Street side.
But Deb, with all due respect, with all due respect, 10 seconds ago, you just said that people were walking in the middle of the street. And that's one of the reasons why we're looking to put sidewalks in areas of the borough that don't have sidewalks so people can walk on sidewalks. You know, the overwhelming majority of the properties in the borough do in fact have a sidewalk in front of their properties, and they are responsible for it. So if a sidewalk was placed, the ones that do not have it now would just become part of the overwhelming majority of residents that do have a sidewalk.
You're not to put sidewalks on my property.
Well, I promise
Okay?
you, we will never
Give
put a
me your
sidewalk.
word. Right here.
Debbie.
Now, give me your word, Paul.
I will not put a sidewalk on your property. We may put a sidewalk on the borough's property, but we won't put a sidewalk on your property.
Well, where's the borough property on my property?
I couldn't tell you right now, but I'd be happy to
Well,
come
when
down
can
and
you tell me?
It's roughly about 10 feet in from the curb is the borough's
My
property.
son.
Well, actually, on our property deed, half of 8th Street is our property, actually.
Right, it's on
Before it
our-
was built, and it still says it on the deed. So I just wanted to bring that up to, not that probably that matters, but just to enlighten you.
So you're saying you own half of 80th Street, so we should,
Well,
According
no,
to the property
I'm
deed.
joking.
just the deed, we know it's
According
not
to the property.
enforceable. We're-
We know it's not enforceable.
But
do not
as
put
of
that
right now,
sidewalk.
Deb, it would go down, then head to the north side. But yes, part of the idea of what we're trying to do is to allow places that don't have sidewalks to ensure that the residents aren't walking in the street.
Go for it, just don't do it on my property.
As I said, we
People up
would.
there don't walk on my sidewalk in the front of my house.
Well,
Okay, I can't enforce that, but they do, but I can take a video camera and take it up if you need it.
well, we
Don't do it.
can't legislate.
Because we'll have an injunction and we'll have a damn big fight on our hands. Now, I'll talk on the other side, since you brought up those houses that are being built. Who's gonna take care of all that mud runoff? 2 days now, I've had mud coming down 8th Street. I don't even think the drain there is working properly on, right outside of my property. And I don't want all that mud in my property.
We will make
So
sure.
who's responsible for that?
It should,
We will make sure
the
that-
developer is responsible for that. Jeff, would you please make a note to speak with Jim
I want you to take care of
tomorrow?
that, what's it called?
It's a street
Straight.
drain. It probably will get clogged from the mud.
It
that's running
is not
down.
cracked.
They will
It's cracked.
definitely come and work on it. But, you know, we do need to recognize that the last 2 days, we've had a little bit more than what a normal rain would be. So, you know, we will definitely, you know Jim Jeffrey quite well, you know that he'll be down there. And from what I understand is so far, the developer is very receptive. I've seen them myself, hand brooming the street on a regular occasion. So I'm comfortable in saying that they will rectify the issue tomorrow.
They'll rectify it as long as we're up there building. And then once they're done, they're gone. And I wonder who's responsible then.
For what?
Like for the water runoff.
They're,
May I, Mr. Councilman?
yes, go ahead.
So I have been to that site personally again. We have been in communication with the developer, and naturally, he has to comply with the ordinances first and foremost, so we have the power of enforcement. After construction, probably the most difficult part is during construction, when the ground is torn up, the earth is exposed, and we've been having the torrential rain. After construction, after things are seeded, and after sod goes down, the water will slow down, and there are systems that will be open to attenuate water into the ground. So the developer, when the plans came through planning, and when they were reviewed by the borough, they have to build underground systems to retain the water.
They will do that even when it doesn't work. Because Strine and the property had a tennis court back there. We got flooded all the time.
I understand that.
So what's the difference between this and that?
The difference is that the borough also has improvement security and developers agreements that also compel them, after completion, 18 months after completion, they have to guarantee that those improvements work and they function. Then after that 18-month window, then they can petition to have their final escrow account satisfied. And until the borough, Jim Jeffrey, I, the rest of the crew is satisfied, the residents, that everything is working fine, they don't get their money back. So they have a vested interest in making sure that things work.
I think you're right. Okay.
That zoning has changed significantly. I mean, nowadays, when you build on a site, you can't have water leave your site. You know, we talk about, and we've lived here our whole lives, back in the day, the idea was get it off my property and have it flow someplace else. It's the complete opposite now, and I'm just kind of translating our engineer. Nowadays, whatever water comes off your roof, it stays on your property. So times have changed significantly with regards to that type of stormwater
I'll
issue.
make sure I have your, I do have your phone number. I will call you at home.
Don't hesitate.
You know
That's what I'm here for.
So I'm not happy about it. Do you have anything else you want to say that I missed?
Go ahead.
Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Gates.
Thank you.
I just have one thing to say, but it's not regarding the sidewalks. She also owned the house on 619 North Jack Street, which I have moved in there. I sit there out on the front porch every night, pretty much, and every night, there's always like 3 or 5 cars that come up the one-way street with Jackson, 600 block, cut through the office building, or they go up to 7th Street. I was just pointing out how dangerous that was and wondering if we could police that more often, especially during, probably around between 6 and 8 it happens. I was just wondering if we could, beef up the,
You mean they're going the wrong way?
Yes, they drive up.
For like a half block.
They go from
Yeah.
6th Street up to 7th Street and then.
or they cut through the office building there. So I just thought that was dangerous
Yes,
and against the law. So,
it without a doubt is.
okay. Thank you.
Guess the people can't read either. 'Cause what do we?
No, that's true.
We have like 6 one-way signs up there, so.
Yeah,
So you're saying they're going up 6th and Jackson?
they're going up
Jackson.
Jackson Street, all the way up to 7th there, where the 600 block is,
Heading
the
north.
office building. Then they go down 7th, and I don't really go from there. That's like,
We'll be sure to communicate that to the chief of police, and he will be on the lookout for it, but thank you very much.
All right, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Sad thing is, nowadays with GPS, many GPS systems don't bother telling you it's a one-way street, they just tell you it's a street.
True.
All right, thank you. Does anybody else wish to address council at this time? Please come forward, tell us your name, where you live, and what's on your mind. All right, no other takers, we'll move on to the engineer's report. Mr. Matz?
Thank you, Mr. President. Just 2 things. Today we had the pre-construction meeting for the improvements at the Hollow Street Garage. We went over some logistics, went over a timetable, went over the needs of the borough as far as our events that will be taking place over the next few months, and then the tentative timetable that the contractor will need. That's going to require some coordination, naturally, because there are areas of the garage that we need to put out of service while they do the work. So it's going to be what we decided to do was coordinate continuously, but have a meeting every 2 weeks just to make sure that we're coordinating the best path for the improvements and for the timetable about the service of the garage and when things are open and when things are closed. But the contractor did request to have considerable areas of the garage closed, and what we ended up sort of arranging was to have the various bays or aisles of the garage closed section by section, so that while work is being done, we can safely continue to use the garage.
Something of a rolling closure, I guess.
That's right. And then secondly, I did hear back from the paving contractor for the road program that they intend to start work the second week of July. So as we got closer to the 5 miler, I said, let's just pump this. I said, I don't want to take the chance of having equipment out there and then 14 or 1,500 runners. So I said, we'll move it to July.
That could be messy. And I take it, Mr. Manson, that once we have more of an idea what the schedule is going to look like with regard to the garage, that's information that will be provided to Jeff Smith, and that will be published on the Borough website
That's correct.
and social media as well.
That's right. So we'll continue not only to have a specific area on the Borough website about, naturally, since it's a sensitive timetable, affects a lot of people, residents, businesses, and we'll make sure to do a nice relations campaign.
Lester.
In conversations with them, they've been very receptive to the understanding that, you know, due to circumstances beyond our control, parking is limited. And they're going to do all that they can do to get as much done in the quote summer months, you know, while people are vacationing and even courthouse numbers are significantly down. They, you know, as indicated from the entire time in the whole process, they're very understanding, very willing to work with us, and I think Kevin and them have developed a very good relationship. So I don't see any issues, but you will wait to see. I'm looking forward to getting as much done as possible before September.
Mr. Mattson, anything else?
No, unless there's any questions, Mr. President.
Then we'll pass them on to Mr. Scott. Mr. Scott, the solicitor's report.
Thank you, Mr. President. I don't have anything to report tonight.
Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Scott at this time? All right, we'll move on to the mayor's report. Mr. Mayor.
Okay, well, I'm going to read the proclamation first.
Excellent.
Dave, I assume you moved the mic because this is your best angle? This is going to be a practice run for next Sunday.
Absolutely.
Okay, Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, Transgender, and Queer Pride Month. Whereas the Borough Media fosters the value and importance of diversity among all people who live, work, and visit here, acknowledging that they cut across ethnic, cultural, racial, gender, identity, and sexual orientation boundaries. And whereas the Borough Media welcomes all people who live, work, and visit here, regardless of their national origin, color, race, religion, age, sexual orientation, or gender identity. And whereas the Borough Media is committed to diversity, social justice, equality, and mutual respect as a fundamental aspect of maintaining a healthy community. And whereas celebrating diversity of families, history, and build pride's understanding, deepens empathy and strengthens all the communities. And whereas the Borough Media celebrates and recognizes the many accomplishments and contributions of its residents who identify themselves as members of the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer community. And whereas while we as a society at large are slowly embracing new definitions of sexual and gender, we must also acknowledge that the needs for education and awareness remains vital to the end discrimination and prejudice. And now, therefore, be it resolved that Media Borough recognizes the month of June 2019 as Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, Transgender, and Queer Pride Month, and encourages everyone to join the celebration and reaffirm the commitment to diversity, equality, and mutual respect in our community. So it says here down here, but the proclamation will be read June 30th, which is a week from Sunday, 2019 at, I know you have the Plum Street Mall, and you now have it across the Plum Street Mall, and you have 2 blocks?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, well, thank you.
As part of the committee, I want to thank you as council for doing this. I want to thank Karen for helping us get the proclamation. And I want to thank Jeff for working with us to put flags up. I want you guys to know that there's never, ever in Delaware County been a gay pride event. So we're putting media on the map because this is going to be the first one. And we don't expect 100 people, we expect a couple thousand.
Whoa.
Oh, dear. And all the businesses are behind us. So we want to thank everybody in the media. We know what we're doing and we're doing it right. And we just thank you so much for being behind us.
Give the time.
This is big. It is Sunday, June the 30th from 1 to 4. And it's going to be great. So come out.
I wanted to say as well, when I asked for this proclamation, I didn't know what would happen. And I want to say thank you so much for bringing this proclamation forward. And look at what's already happened. We're going to have an amazing event in media, and we're going to celebrate what it means to be LGBTQ. Let's celebrate Pride in Media.
Remember, you need to remember, media, everybody's
hometown, correct. Not a mask or escape map. Mr. Mayor.
Now, are you gonna trust me to keep this till next Sunday, or am I giving this back?
You're going to give it back to Karen.
I can leave it in my car. They mistakenly think I lose things. My doctor wants. Okay, my report for the month, attached are, department handled a total of 793 complaints. Related to the mayor's report on drug cases during April meeting, please see the incident log for May showing briefs and 8 drug-related incidents during the month of April. On 5/31, a fire occurred, which we all know about now, and that was pushed earlier tonight. We recognized that. I know Rich mentioned, I'm not going to talk about that tonight. I am going to ask council to take a look at a potential power wash just to see if it's worth the price, whatever it is. I talked to Ralph about this. The streets are a little darker than maybe they should be. They could use a good power wash, but depending on the price, it may not be worth it. I priced it a year or two ago, and I thought it was a little bit higher than what it should be, but the sidewalks, and there's a lot of mention along State Street about the sidewalks and the street. So, just thought I'd bring it up.
Jeff, I seem to recall that a few years back we priced that out. Now, am I mistaken in my recollection?
No, I think you're correct.
Okay. So we at least have some type of baseline as to what numbers we're looking at.
Yes. If council would like, Mr. DeRosa could reach back out and, secure some quotes if that's something you're interested in.
Are you looking to do all the street, or are you looking to do the sidewalks?
Whatever's affordable. In other words, get the quotes, see whether it's worth it to do the sidewalks in the street. It may not be worth doing either. So I just want to get the quotes and see what they are.
I guess it doesn't hurt to get the information for our next workshop. So Jeff, if you can speak with Ralph, and
Sure.
see if we can get some numbers, we can start tossing those around in a couple weeks' time.
Okay. So the only other thing I wanted to mention, Dining in the Stars, last week, not last night, was the largest we ever had. We had almost 6,000 diners. Spazzo's alone had 1,000. Beautiful night. Last night was a partial washout. So far this year, we've had 1 full rainout and 2 partial rainouts. So we're still thinking about whether, potential Saturday nights. I think that's it.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Does anyone have any questions for the mayor at this time?
Yes. I noticed in the packet that I heard about this last Friday, but thanks to the police.
Oh, I did see that. Yeah, that's right. And since you said that, I also have one other issue. Okay, to the mayor dated 6/20/19, attached is a business card of Nina, I'm not going to attempt to say her last name. You stop by the Borough building, that's what you're referring to?
I hope so.
No,
Okay.
this one.
Okay. Well, since you have it, Sarah, might.
Go ahead and read it, Sarah.
Sit down.
I don't have glasses. Somebody else.
I didn't ask you to read it.
Oh, okay. Oh, what do you have to do with it? You have it, okay.
Okay. Dear Chief of Senate, I am writing to thank you and the Media Police Force for the kind consideration you gave us on Monday, 6/10/19, when a no parking brown bag was placed on our parking meter outside Spazzo's restaurant. This convenient parking enabled my 2 friends and me to attend our 63rd Media High School class reunion with great ease. Our class has always been close and enjoy getting together. I'm afraid that the participants and Parkinson's and strokes have taken their toll on those of us who use that parking spot. Thank you again for your help. Sincerely, Nancy Reynolds Gibbons. Okay, sorry. Okay, and one other, and Terry really started the gun. You and I started it back in 2012. You took it over.
Something to do.
So I read a proclamation. gun day 2 weeks ago, so I wanted to bring that up, and that was presented to the organization at that time. So just wanted to mention that. So we have 3 proclamations this year.
Thank you.
I think that's it.
Are you talking about, that was for Delco United?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Just wanted your name.
Thanks, Tom.
Are there any other questions or comments for the mayor? All right, we'll move along to the council committee reports. As always, we'll begin from my right to my left. Properties, Public Works, and Fire, Councilman Robinson.
I don't have anything legislative tonight, so I'll try to be as quick as possible. I mean, I think we all recognize, tonight with our fire company here, I say this every month, that these individuals get up. When you and I hear the fire sirens, we roll over and go back to sleep, and they get up and go save people's lives. It is 100% voluntary, and I guess I'm going to kind of say for everyone at home tonight, it sure would be really nice if you recognize this, and one way that you can recognize our fire department is to pull out this little thing called a checkbook and give a nice donation to our fire company. It's all voluntary. The borough does assist, but a lot of the equipment and training in which they do, they provide the funding for themselves, so it'll be very, very important. So I appreciate that. Couple quick things. Engineer took care of the Olive Street. I think it's going to work, or the Olive Street Garage. I think it's going to work out quite well. Large trash. Starting to see more and more people putting out large trash. When I'm saying trash items, I'm saying desks, chairs, sofas, things of that nature. We have a once a month, last Wednesday of the month, in which we will do pickups. Each resident or property gets 1 free pickup. And then, correct me if I'm wrong, it's $25, $30. I'm sitting here too long, the price is going up a little bit. $30, we will come by. I will say that if it's a circumstance where you're moving for some reason in the middle of the month, call us up. We'll be glad to try to work with you. However, if you're just putting trash out there or big items, we are going to start to tag them, and you will have a limited amount of time to get them off until such time as big pickup. I don't think any of us want to have sofas, recliners, kitchen tables sitting out on the street for weeks on end.
Paul, if you,
Yes,
some folks have never arranged for a big trash pickup. How do you do that?
it's very easy. Call Karen. Call Borough Hall, 610-566-5210. They will put your name on the list, and they will come by and pick it up. You 24? 48 hours before the last. So it's always the last Wednesday of the month, so by that Monday we need to know, so we know what kind of crews that we need to have out there. Thank you. Last on the list real quick is I did have a meeting this week with our superintendent, our new superintendent of schools for Rochester Media School District with regards to the media playground agreement. What I'm going to say tonight is they have made some changes to the original agreement that has been in place since 1991. I think placing a little bit more responsibility on the borough and a little bit less responsibility on the school district. I'll be the first one to say it is a draft, and a conversation I had with Eleanor, the superintendent, this afternoon, we both agreed that the best thing for us to do is to have our solicitor, Bob Scott, the school district solicitor, Tom Kelly, someone from the Borough Council and someone from the school district sit down and talk through it and get this thing, resolved. We really cannot do, no further action can be taken with the playground until such time that we can enter in some sort of an agreement. We will do it as fast as possible. It has been with the school district since January, but if we can get this thing done and out of the way, we will. But it's going to be a little bit of negotiating, I think. So that concludes. Oh, one other thing. I'm going to say this every month. I'm asking people to really start to think about pedestrians and what our responsibility are as walkers as the same way with cars. We had a situation last week up in my neck of the town up in Monroe and 6th where a jogger was, I don't want to say hit, more like bumped by a car. It was a product of someone looking at their GPS, one, but the jogger also made the assumption that the car would stop. As the chief always says, even if you may have the right of way of a pedestrian, usually a car wins the battle between a person and a car, so you have to think about that. We all like to walk, but we all have to be a little bit mindful of what we're doing. that concludes my report.
Thank you, Paul. Does anyone have any questions for Paul before we move along to?
Just one call. Who prepared the draft that you guys discussed?
I would give you a couple guesses, but I think you'll figure it out that it was the school district.
Okay.
I mean, one of the things that they did it was a 20-year agreement last time. Their original one was a 1-year agreement, but even the superintendent thought that was a little bit short, and they put a 7-year. I still think that's a little bit short. I do not think that the superintendent was aware of the financial contribution that we have anticipated providing to them. I think that opened her eyes and made her realize that it's more of a partnership. And I think the other factor that they're having some issue with is there's 3 playgrounds in the school district. We are the only one located in a quote-unquote urban environment. The other 2 playgrounds, are limited access to people. And I did explain that to her. I also explained that I know many people that live outside the borough that come here to use the media playground because it's so much fun, and then they get to walk up the street with their kids and go get ice cream and do things like that. So it is different.
Is the issue then for them that they are investing in something that they can't control as well as other playgrounds?
It's more of the use and the significant use, and where some equipment has problems quicker, people up there off hours. But as I said, it's a two-way street. When asked the question of, do you call the police or no. Well, as we say to everybody, we can't fix it if our police don't know about it. They're the things that we'll talk about. But I'm comfortable in saying that, the new superintendent is fantastic. She's someone that worked her way up through the school district, so she's one of the gang. And I do believe that it won't take much for us to sit down. And I don't think there's anybody better to work with than the school district solicitor, Tom Keller.
All right, any other questions or comments for Paul? Hearing none, we'll move along to Councilwoman Lisa Johnson, MBA Historic Public Safety and Civil Service.
Thank you. My first agenda item is to unfortunately make a motion to accept the resignation of Perry Evanson from the Media Business Authority. Her term expires at the end of this year.
I'll second that motion.
Is there any discussion on the motion?
Yeah, I just want to say that I really appreciated Perry's enthusiasm and hard work. She was a great addition to the board, and I'm sorry that she's leaving.
Moving or busy or?
Someone.
Huh? Third one. Oh, boy. Oh, I'm sorry. Doing pretty, I knew what my best friend was about it. Moving, busy.
No, she was deemed to not meet the qualifications of the board after she was accepted onto the board. So she had resigned for lack of qualifying.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? Hearing none. All those in favor of accepting the resignation of Perry Evanson from the Media Business Authority, her term was to expire at the end of this year, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say nay. That motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. The second item is a mass gathering permit application for the Media Pride Day gathering. So there's a couple of little differences between what I just heard. So I shouldn't listen about it. Okay.
Listen to the application? Okay.
Good to know.
I want it to be thousands.
You want to be what?
I want it to be thousands.
Oh,
This
you
year.
want
Not
to.
this year, not this year.
Well, the other little discrepancy I heard was that the event stop time is 4 o'clock, but it says 3 here.
Yes.
Is that accurate? Okay.
Hold on.
So,
Our agenda says 5.
no, so let me go through it. I just wanted to double check with that one, because she was the applicant. So let me just go through this for everyone. The event, of course, is a Sunday, June 30th, and its setup time starts at 12 p.m. And the start time of the event itself is 1 p.m. The event stop time is 3 and breakdown finish time is 5. Okay?
Okay.
And this
It was
is-
not in her head.
Yes, yes. Yes, Ms. Johnson, that's
Yeah.
correct.
So it's on Plum Street Mall between State and Front, and it's also including Jasper Street between Jackson and Olive,
Right.
right? And there's a stage with a PA system for proclamations, speeches, singing, and music at Plum Street near Jasper. 4 tables on Plum Street between Jasper and Front. Right? Estimated attendance, 100. We'll see. I mean, if you guys seriously think.
I think we should.
I do not.
Okay, because we.
Is Jasper going to be closed or open?
Well, this will close it.
It was suggested that we close
Okay.
it as a preventative measure.
Okay.
It's the safety measure.
So is this event being advertised or promoted? So do you think it will be more than 100?
We've got a lot of attention. We've got at least on the event that we've created, over 100 people said they were going. Whether that really pans out since it's a first event, I do not expect thousands.
And maybe more than 100, just for our public safety to be aware of.
What did we say, like 1 to 200 on the?
It says 100.
100, I'm going to say that it would be around there.
Yeah.
That
Because
would
we
be a
need
safe
to.
estimate.
I'm seeing, okay.
Oh, that'll
We
be
need
a
to
nice
know,
turnout.
you know, in case the police need to be
I think the
aware.
police need to be prepared to have
Yeah.
a couple of, luckily we have all the yellow blockades up there for dining in the stores. I have a funny feeling that they are going to come into use that Sunday.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
well, you have to come back next month so we can, with a number.
We'll do an after action.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, I make a motion to approve the mass gathering permit application for Media Pride Committee.
I'll second that
Oh,
motion.
sorry, what's the name of the event? Gathering.
Media Pride Day
Media
gathering.
Pride Day, sorry.
All right, motion's been made, it has been seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion? Now that we have all the particulars straight.
My name's Bob. Bob McMahon, I forget.
Okay.
All those in favor of granting the mass gathering permit application for the Media Pride Day gathering to be held a week from this coming Sunday from 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock in the Plum Street Mall, please say aye.
Yes.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Okay, we have another mass gathering permit application from the First Baptist Church of Media. They have Vacation Bible School held between July 8th and July 12th. And this is a recurring one we've seen for, I don't know how many years, but a long time. Right?
Decades.
Decades, okay. They want to close down 3rd Street between Jackson and Monroe and conduct Bible school activities between 6 and 8:30 in the evening. Doing games and things, it'll be about 50 people.
I move approval as submitted.
Motion's been made. We have a second. We have a second on the motion as well. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor of approving a mass gathering permit application for the First Baptist Church's Vacation Bible School will be held July 8th through July 12th. Right back of us on 3rd Street, please say aye.
Yes.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. All right, that's all my agenda items. I just had one question for Jeff and Karen. Did you hear anything about a amendment to the mass gathering permit for open streets?
Not yet.
Not yet, okay. We'll do that next one. Okay, that's all I have, thanks.
All right. Are there any questions for Councilwoman Lisa Johnson at this time? Hearing none. Moving along to community development. No, we're jumping. Now we're jumping ahead instead of moving along. Fair Trade, Farmers Market, Shade Tree, and the Environmental Advisory Council. Councilwoman Amy Johnson.
Okay, it'll be short. I have nothing legislative on my agenda this evening, but I'll make my monthly announcement about the Media Farmers Market, which is in full swing every Sunday from 10 to 2 on Edgemont Street between State and Front. The market has a variety of vendors with fresh food, and we urge you to come and visit us, or visit the market, not visit the market. So that concludes my report this evening.
That was expeditious. Any questions for Councilwoman Amy Johnson?
Amy,
Yeah.
is the sharpening guy back again this year?
He's usually there every month, Paul. I could look it up on the newsletter. I urge you to join the newsletter, Paul, so you will know it helps. Neil sharpening service. But I'll text you and let
I'll
you
do
know.
that.
He does a good job.
And Amy,
Yeah.
the produce vouchers provided by the
Oh,
state.
I forgot, Sarah, thank you for that reminder. I will email the committee this evening about the WIC vouchers. That's what you were asking about. I'm sorry that you wanted to know, was there more vendors than just that one that you asked?
Yes.
I apologize. You asked that at the workshop. I'll get back to you.
Okay.
Thanks.
All right, any other questions for Amy? Hearing none, I'll move on to my portion of the agenda, which is Community Development, Historical Archives Review Board, Historic Archives, Architecture Review Board, and Media Arts Council. So I've got one item for legislative action tonight. This is with regard to an application for a certificate of appropriateness. Certificate of appropriateness is an item that we as council decide whether or not to bestow upon someone who is applying to have some, either have some changes made or some repairs done to a structure that's in one of our historic districts. This structure is in the Lemon Street district. It's at 8 South Lemon Street. It is a 2-story building that is presently a single-family detached home, but initially was the first school in all of Media. Those of you who are familiar with this building know that it sits on Lemon Street between State Street and Front Street on the west side of the street. And they also know that it's been shown a bit of its age over the past number of years. Specifically on the second floor, it's kind of a mansard roof and it has some cedar shakes, and the cedar shakes they're reaching the end of their reasonable life expectancy. And there is some edging throughout the property, both the first floor, the porch, and elsewhere, the gutter lines, that need some tending. The metal that protects the wood is beginning to fail, and it needs to be replaced. So the owners of the property would like to make those repairs, but whenever you even touch a structure in a historic district, you need to go through the HARB, the Historic Architectural Review Board, to make sure that they're in agreement. The HARB is in agreement in this case. The owners of the property would like to replace the existing mansard cedar roofing, I apologize, with asphalt shingles, but not any old asphalt shingles. These are what are considered luxury shingles. They have chamfered edges, they are scalloped, they look really quite nice. Interestingly, it's likely the case that the original treatment on that second floor roof was not cedar shakes. It was clapboard, so it raises an interesting question as to whether or not cedar shakes would have been required or considered in the first place. Otherwise, they're proposing that there's metal capping, and that there are replacement gutters and downspouts. There's a standing seam metal porch roof that is going to be replaced. Some wood in the cornice that is rotting that will be replaced, and the drip edges are going to be replaced. All the metal will be replaced with copper, which would have been period appropriate. So it was the unanimous recommendation of the HARB that the council issue an application for the certificate of appropriateness for the work that is being proposed. I so move, so long as that work is done consistent with the review letter from the HARB dated June 3, 2019.
I'll second that.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Okay, all those in favor of approving the HARB application for a certificate of appropriateness for the roof materials, gutters, and downspouts at 8 South Lemon Street, please say aye.
Yes.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes unanimously.
I have two announcements. One that I think is within my bailiwick, the other one maybe not. The first one concerns the 3rd Street Dam. I periodically have mentioned that that the engineer that we have retained to work on the project, John Harrison of Schnabel Engineering, periodically, every 3 or 4 months, will issue a progress report. He has done so. You will find that on the Borough website. So if you wish to be kept abreast of what has been going on with regard to the Third Street Dam, please go to the Media Borough website. You will see that there are a series of, I think, 19 periodic reports there. The most recent one captures involvement up to this month. The other item is this, and Lisa, I've got the t-shirt, so I'm using it.
That's great.
Tomorrow, we're going to have 1,800 runners running through the borough. It is, including me, I'm struggling at least, but they'll be out there. So this is the 40th anniversary of the race, and it is going to be extremely well attended. And wet, rain or shine, and unless there's a really bad weather event,
Really bad.
really bad, it's going to happen. Well, as a runner, let me add this, as a runner, there's Media Borough is special. I think we all agree that Media Borough is special, otherwise we wouldn't be behind this table. But the Media 5 Miler is a special race from a runner's perspective because you are so darn close to the residents of the town. And the residents of the town are so into the race. They're out there cheering you on, trying to help you out. It's as exciting for them as it is for the runners. So if you're not running the race tomorrow, just come on out and cheer the folks on. It's a great time to be in Media Borough. It's a great time to cheer on friends, neighbors, and out-of-towners as well. So, Lisa?
I'm just curious how the runners and others will know whether it's postponed or not.
If the National Weather Service tells you to stay home, then you probably should stay home. But you can take a look at their website.
There's no issue right now.
Yeah.
That's-
The bad weather came through tonight. It's supposed to be a beautiful day tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
And cool.
Yeah, cool.
Drier and
No, it's
cooler.
supposed to be like 80
Yeah.
more than.
Only because it's been raining every day for the past 10 years. But yeah, it's a great t-shirt. And hope to see you out there.
Good luck, right?
Thanks. All right, so I got nothing else to say. Let's move along then to Recreation and Board of Health. Kevin?
Thank you, Mr. President. I have a few short announcements and then one item of business. A few announcements. First of all, summer camp has been doing well. All weeks are filled, and that begins next week. The first movie night was this past Friday. That was, I believe it was Lego Movie 2 down at Borough Field, and that corresponds to the end of the year picnic for the elementary school. The next movie night will be Saturday, July the 13th, and tentatively that is Back to the Future. I say tentatively because apparently Back to the Future has kind of a curse behind it. There's been bad weather every time they're trying to do it. So let's cross our fingers and hope that this time the weather cooperates and we actually get to show the movie. One of the big,
I'm sorry, when's Back to the Future?
The 13th.
July 13th.
Sorry, I missed it.
Yeah, Saturday, July the 13th, yeah. July the 4th, one of the big events that Rec does put on down at Borough Field, 10 until noon. Games, refreshments, hot dogs. They usually get a kind of a balance slide, kind of a contraption, which is well monitored by the Rec board. This year, apparently, there will be a stilt man walking around on stilts. Actually, kind of interesting. So, July the 4th, yeah, it's always on July the 4th, 10 until noon, down at Borough Field. And while I'm on that subject, Rec could always use help. Now, the Rec board, I think is currently filled, there are no openings, but Rec could always use volunteers. An event like this takes a lot of hands-on activity, and anyone who would like to help out is always more than welcome. So you can call Paula at the Borough Hall, and they'd be happy to have you volunteer your time. They can, as I said, always use some extra hands. The Summer Fitness Series will be happening beginning July the 9th. Those are going to be held on Tuesday nights from 7 until 8 p.m., and that will run every Tuesday through August 13th, rain or shine. And those are the ones that are right out here next to the top lot on the grass. I believe that Katie has sent the flyer so it's in the newsletter, and each event is run by different groups. Some are aerobics, some are Pilates, some are yoga, so come on out, and it's a free event, so 7 to 8, Tuesday nights beginning July the 9th. And finally, I have an item of business. I'm going to ask that council approve the upgrade of the top lot. I might need a little help from Jeff on the details of the resolution. I know we're spending somewhere about $150,000 to, it's not even upgrading the top lot, we're pretty much redoing it. We're redoing the surface, we're redoing the equipment. The top lot's a great addition to the borough, and As was pointed out earlier, a lot of people come into the borough simply to go to playgrounds, and that's especially true of the tot lot. So, Jeff, do you have the amount?
It would just be, a simple motion. It's, I believe the Recreation Board's recommending it at $149,963.51. The final proposal is from Compan, and I believe that's everything that you need for the
Yeah,
motion.
thank you. And the other part that's Compton is also doing the playground down at the elementary school, and they've been working with rec, so there really isn't any overlap, so that there's different equipment up at the top lot versus at the down at the playground. So I make that in the form of the motion to please approve the upgrade to the top.
Second that.
Motion's been made and seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion?
I think it's great. I mean, it's been there for 18, 19 years.
It's somewhere around there, yeah.
And served a lot of kids that are now young adults or
Yeah,
adults,
yeah.
so it's time we do fix her up and get her ready for
It needs some attention, you're correct. All right, so we have a motion that has been seconded to approve the proposal for upgrades to the Borough Hall tot lot in the amount of $149,963.51. We'll call the question. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, and that concludes my report.
Thank you, Councilman Ward. Does anyone have any questions for Kevin at this time? Hearing none, we'll move along to Finance and Library. Councilman Williamson.
Thank you, Mr. President. My report should be relatively brief. The Finance Committee met earlier this week. We reviewed the financial statements for the month of May. We always do the previous month. And the budget has been trending well. As of the end of May, we had achieved the revenues that we might expect by the end of June, so we were a month ahead. And our expenses are tracking as we might expect, perhaps by the end of April. So it's a good delta to have. So we expect that to change, as it always does in the fall, because that's when our bill comes due to our contribution to the pensions of the various fine staff members we have here. And that check alone is getting close to $1 million. So that often changes the calculation back to more what we expect. But for right now in the summer, we're still floating on the surplus. So that's good. Councilman Borough mentioned the playground. That was an unanticipated expense. I mean, life happens to boroughs just like it does to families. So occasionally we have to add things to our budget that we didn't expect to. And while this is significant, we have a process called the mid-year budget update that allows us to do this. And it just so happens that coming up probably in July and August, the staff is going to start preparing that mid-year budget update, which I think, do we pass it in August, Jeffrey, or September? I can't remember.
In August, and council actually, the rec board had asked for 100,000, so that's what was budgeted. It's the difference that they're asking in the updated bill.
Sorry, we were more prepared than I related. It just cost more than we expected. It was really, another thing I might mention here, which I think is really important, we were alerted to this by the citizens of media that told us, look at this, and sent us pictures. So it was very obvious that we needed to do something. So thank you very much for being active citizens, those that let us know. Anyway, so the mid-year budget update will take care of the unanticipated $50,000 expense. The only other thing I'd like to mention is that, as we do every year, we've reviewed the report of the auditors for last year's books. And we have been on a very good upward trend in our ability to address all the auditors' concerns. So this year we were left with one relatively small one, which is our ability to most correctly rectify the books properly at the end of the year. It's not that we don't properly rectify them. Sometimes it just takes a little bit longer than we expect, but we have a process in place this year to rectify that one last niggling problem that we tend to get in our audit letters. So it was a small matter and not one that the Finance Committee was particularly concerned about. And that concludes my, I'm sorry, I have to pay the bills. I'm sorry. My one action item this month is the payment of the bills for May. Every year, every month, we ratify the bills that were paid in the previous month. From the general fund, we drew $327,250.31. From the recreation fund, $5,886.79. And from the capital fund, $85,709.76. I move approval and ratification of those bills.
Is there a second on the motion?
Second.
There is. Is there any discussion on the motion?
Peter, the capital fund, is, do you know what that was? I'm sorry.
Honestly, I don't, Jeff, but do you remember what that was for?
It's in the statements.
I can look it up.
No, it's okay.
No, I can look it up.
He can do it a lot faster than you can. It will only take a second. I'm curious to know, too. It is.
I'm sorry, Mr. Smith. There's probably a truck or a car.
Well, he's looking. Those of you in the audience might like to know that anything that's going to last a while and costs more than $5,000, we tend to put in the capital fund when we purchase it. For smaller things, we do not. So purchase capital of things like police cars, fire trucks, new buildings, etc.
Final payment for the Veterans Square Gardens included in there.
Okay.
Some design work the council approved previously up at 8th and Olive. And in addition, there's also some items in there the police department had purchased. They're updating their computer stuff for JNet. So just a myriad of.
Okay.
They're all approved by Borough.
So a lot of stuff that tends to last a while, stuff in the capital budget. All right, that concludes my report.
Wait a minute,
we have to
take a vote.
motion, sorry.
We're going to have some unhappy creditors if we don't take a vote. Any other questions on that pending motion? Hearing none, all those in favor of paying the borough's bills for the month of May from the general fund, recreation fund, and the capital fund, please say aye.
Yes.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, Mr. President. That concludes my report.
Are there any questions for Councilman Williamson at this time? Hearing none, we'll move along to Councilwoman Sarah Dixon, Personnel, Public Relations, and Historical Archives.
I got to like them. Okay, really, there's nothing to report for the Historic Archives because we're meeting on Monday. And you know some of the publicity things that have been happening, whether it's the letter from the person who loved what the police were doing or helping her, or the hosting of the arts fair last. We're getting nothing but positive press. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions for Councilwoman Dixon? Hearing none, we now open up the microphone for our second public comment and privilege of the floor session. If anybody wishes to address council at this time, please come to the microphone. Tell us who you are, where you live, and what's on your mind.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Correct. Hi, my name is Mary Mallory. I live at 409 West State Street. You guys are very busy and very organized, and I gotta tell you, I'm really impressed with how well you run things around here. Sorry, true confessions, I lived in a different township, Pines, Harple. It took a very long time to do very little. Thanks, guys. With an eye to the future, I'm thinking about a piece of property on State Street, the 300 block. Gosh.
There's an east and a west. I think you mean the east.
Sure question. Yes, east. I would know it. I had an acre right next to my house. There were houses there long ago. Now it is park-esque. There's steps that go up to air. Right, yeah, we're up on State Street, catty corner across from Barrel Field. Is it Barrel or Borough?
Borough.
Oh, so it's a Borough, okay. Should be more prepared. About that, let's be real careful and real friendly and dream a little here. Is it possible, somehow, is it possible that that piece of property could be the gateway, the first thing that people see when they come to the media? We're green. We are so lucky to have trees down the streets, the big streets, the little streets, and yet we can get around this fine. That is a big, big piece of property, and it's possible somebody would think, let's just put some apartment buildings in there, that's a good idea. People think different things. I think, and I'm asking each of you to not think, but dream just for a minute. We get into being at 1 minute for 30 minutes. Wouldn't it be nice if that piece of property was open and how would we pay for that? I don't know, bricks that cost $1,000 with somebody's name on it that work pretty well at the library. There might just be a way to do that. Plant more trees, little spots for kid tots. Let it be what it should be, green and open, and not just another, well, I don't think we put a Wawa in there. So I have nothing in particular to say or ask of you except that. That's an acre. I'm used to living, I had 2¼ acres and it was right next to the cemetery. Up until I was 15, I thought we owned that. I did. Crum Creek Road, that remarkable. So I'm asking each of you to just take the time to imagine, wouldn't that be nice? And then once you say, wouldn't that be nice, kind of like a special Christmas present for somebody, or the religious, like Big Ben on your voice, right? Wouldn't that be nice if somehow we managed to do that? Thank you very much for your time.
You're welcome. Actually, Peter, this might be an indication for you just to give us a little bit of a recap of what's going on with open space plan.
Okay. I think probably the president would like me to talk about our pending open space plan because what you suggest would likely be put in the context of the entire borough in such a plan. But we have released an RFP, a request for proposals from professional consultants to undertake an open space plan, a comprehensive open space plan for the borough, which I expect will occur over the next 18 to 24 months. You know, your observation is for anybody that pays attention to open space in the borough, your observation is I don't mean to belittle it, but it's very, I mean, it's one of the largest open spaces in town. So,
Yes, it is, sir.
And it has, because it has been left alone for a long time, it does have park-like aspects to it. That, you're absolutely correct, and I would agree with you 100%. There's one thing, though, that I really think I ought to talk to you about in the context of this, because, and that's the rights of property owners in Pennsylvania, right? That's owned by essentially a real estate investment company, Media Real Estate, whose business is to make money off of property, following the laws, the proper laws of the United States. They're not doing anything wrong, they're just following the laws and trying to make a profit. They've had that property for a long time. They expect to make a profit from it, as they should. And if, you know, any fate were to occur on that property but the one that they wish for it, you know, in other words, if the borough were to try to acquire the property, it would have to do so at fair market value, which could be considerable. So, you know, there's a lot of things to think about when a borough considers things like this. But I appreciate your observation, and I share it with you, I must say.
That's the start. Thank you very much.
And Ms. Mallory, we expect that over the coming months, we'll have some more news about the open space plan. And if you're interested, then please follow along, and maybe there'll be an opportunity to participate as well.
I'll get you my seat.
That's a good one, all right. All right, does anybody else wish to address council at this time? Please come forward, tell us who you are, where you live, and what's on your mind. And it seems as if we've run out of takers tonight. So, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All right, all those in favor? Aye. Those against? We are adjourned. Good night, folks. See you next month, and have a happy and safe July 4th.